What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Geeks Got Game, the Geekiverse is all video game show. We are coming to you not live, but recorded, because John almost had us in a live stream there. We don't know where it went, but hey, those buttons, they're so close to each other.
Yeah,
it's just, it happened.
Scavenger hunt. If you can find out where I accidentally broadcasted that second of footage live, you win a prize. Don't know what it is, but you win a prize.
We'll ship you a Geekiverse glass via FedEx.
Perfect.
Right, Rashawn?
No, I refuse.
Okay. So, I'm Josiah Leroy. With me today, this beautiful bunch of gaming geeks, John Fick. What's up, John?
Howdy, my friend. How are you?
Very, very good. Mr. Jeff Pavlak, the Polish pierogi, as I remember from watching our 2-year anniversary video.
Good evening, guys.
And Rashawn Anderson, the Platinum King himself. Rashawn, how's your day going?
Going all right. I'm not going to get into the FedEx stuff. Let's just go.
We'll save it as bonus content. We'll do that because the story's worth living again, I think. So we've got a great show for you today. We're talking a PS5 Tech Demo, some wonderful Xbox or Nintendo news, some kind of mediocre Xbox Series X coverage, and a lot to go after that. But first, as always, we'll start the episode with what is in your system. I'm sure we've all been playing a number of games. Why don't we start with John? What have you been playing lately?
Yeah, man. I've been playing a lot of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So I was feeling... so that's right. An old one. So I played the first 2 Tomb Raider games. I liked them a lot. Really enjoyed them. Don't know why when Shadow came out, I just didn't get to it. It was one of those things where it came out. I bought it when it came out. I own the physical copy, the day and date. I just don't know why I didn't play it. Maybe something else came out around the same time. Must have been something else came out around the same time.
For sure.
Yeah. So
I don't remember what.
Never got to it. And I've been...
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, that makes sense. If that's the case, then...
It was like a week apart.
I was definitely playing some Spider-Man, so that makes sense. It's been sitting in the shrink wrap until like 2 weeks ago when I unwrapped it and popped it in. I was just kind of feeling the itch to play something narrative-focused, kind of like action adventure and like cinematic. That's kind of where my head was at. It kind of started where I wanted to replay an Uncharted game, and I'm like, you know what? I haven't played the third Tomb Raider, so why replay Uncharted when I can just play something new that kind of scratches the same itch? So I'm about, I would say, like 12 hours in. Sounds about right. I've been playing a hefty chunk. I'm probably like 80% way through the main story. It's good. It's good, not great. There's some issues with it. I couldn't care less about the story. I'm having a lot of fun jumping around, but I really don't know what's going on. Last night, I literally pulled up like one of those 5-minute story recap videos just to like refresh myself, and I just paused it when I got to the point where I was at in the story, so I didn't obviously spoil the ending, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm having fun. It's a beautiful game. Plays well. I mean, I'm a sucker for those climbing, action adventure, Uncharted, Tomb Raider games. I really enjoy them, so been having fun with it.
John, I played that pretty much right at launch, in between my complete Spider-Man run, and I felt disappointed by it. I don't know why, because I think it really is fundamentally a good game, but same with you. Like, I really could not find myself engaged with the story. I think we both agree visually it's beautiful.
Of course, yeah.
You know, that's a given, but this one in particular looks even better than usual. And I don't know if it's just that I really like the first 2 so much that this was maybe a step down, but like I remember bits and pieces of the second story. I recall the first story fairly well. I've played that game through at least twice. And I thought those were really nice foundational pieces, and this one was kind of meh. Yeah. And it was disappointing to be the end of this trilogy to me.
For sure. I'm right there with you. And while I'm still kind of in the heart of it, I'm not completely down on it, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like this will stand out as the least enjoyable experience of the 3 for me. But that being said, still having a good time, still scratching that itch I was looking for. So I'll probably wrap that up this weekend. Other than Tomb Raider, been playing some Animal Crossing, chipping away, buying some daily goods, making sure I'm getting all my shop items, stuff like that. And then a little bit of Call of Duty multiplayer. I've hopped back into just like the traditional multiplayer, not the Warzone, the Battle Royale, but actually just playing some like Kill Confirm, Team Deathmatch, pick up and play a little bit of that. So that's been me.
Good stuff all around. Jeff Pavlak, what's been in your system?
I finally got the terraforming option on Animal Crossing. I think I got it literally the day after we recorded our last episode. So I've been going to town now with that. It's like yeah, exactly. I know I'm about a month and a half behind the rest of the world on it, but now I'm really gonna sink my teeth into it. Otherwise, I busted out my 3DS for the first time in probably 2-3 years. I downloaded Rhythm Heaven Megamix, which is part of one of Nintendo's lesser-known franchises, the Rhythm Heaven franchise. I think there's like 4 games in all. They were all for their handhelds between Game Boy, DS, maybe not Game Boy, probably just DS and 3DS. But I got the last one, which came out on 3DS now 4 years ago. It was kind of a surprise announcement at the E3 where they had the big, not reveal, but the big showing of Breath of the Wild. Like basically when that E3 was, they were a one-man show. It was just the Breath of the Wild presentation. It had been out in Japan for the months beforehand, and they just quietly announced that it was on the eShop internationally. So there was never a physical release. You could only buy it digitally. But I downloaded it. It just reaffirms that I'm absolutely terrible at rhythm games, whether it's Guitar Hero, anything like that. I am absolutely terrible at them. But any of the challenges in there that are more like visually based, that have like visual prompts as opposed to audio and rhythm prompts, I'm better at those. The ones where you have to just kind of remember the beat and listen for the cues, I'm absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Oh, man, rhythm games. I love them. Breathe those in.
Yeah.
Rashawn.
I'd be interested. It's like,
yeah,
I was gonna say, I'd be interested to watch you play it, Josiah, because you have such a better ear for music than I do. Like maybe those challenges that are more about the audio cues, you'd get those a lot better than I do.
Maybe I could be worse. I think it's worth a playthrough.
I really don't think you could be worse than me. Maybe you wouldn't be good, but you wouldn't be worse than me. I don't think that's possible.
Hey, it sounds like a nice Let's Play opportunity.
This is one Nintendo game I will not master, no matter how much I want to.
Well, speaking of mastering games, we've got the Platinum King here, Rashawn. I know you started Assassin's Creed the other day. I'm a little surprised you haven't finished it yet. But what do you think of that so far? How far did you get? We were recording Dadcast, so I didn't tune in.
Yeah, the stream I had last night, we were on there for about 3 hours. So a couple of story missions in, I busted out like 2 or 3 side missions as well. It's different. The control scheme is very different for what I'm used to. So I was getting worked a little bit, but that won't last for too long. It's just so funny because I'm so used to games where square or like an X is like your attack button, but in this game that's going to be your dodge, and your attack is your right trigger button for heavy attack, and your light attack is your R1. So this is different. I'm getting used to it. I'm playing it on hard mode as well. My audience suckered me into doing it on hard mode.
I told you not to, for what it's worth.
Well, it's the hard mode. That's not the issue. It's the thing that I started and I switched back to is exploration mode. I switched back to guided. John was 1000% right on that. Yeah. It's something different that they went for in terms of like, hey, like you're in this big open world in real life. If someone told you to go here, there's no waypoint for you. You would just have to figure it out. And I tried it because I'm like, oh, it sounds interesting. Of course, Ubisoft is like, this is the way Assassin's Creed Odyssey is meant to be played. Yeah, because you want people to wander around in your world for 120 hours and say your game's longer than it is. I see what you're doing, Ubisoft. You got me for like a couple of missions, but I switched it back. But I again, that mode's probably good for if you really want to get into the exploration. But of course, if I'm streaming it, an audience doesn't want to watch you run around to find one dude for 30 minutes. So I switched back on that. But I like it. Again, it's the only Assassin's Creed game I haven't played. I like it for the little bit that I've played so far. I'll be diving more into that on some upcoming streams. And the only other thing I'll be resuming is my Dark Souls 3 platinum run. I was doing that before. You guys know I gotta have a platinum run going. I was doing that before Persona 5 Royal came out and Final Fantasy 7. You guys know the rest was history when those came out. So I'll be balancing those two until around like Xenoblade Chronicles Remaster comes out.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice, dude. I started Assassin's Creed in February and kind of got a little bit into it, and I enjoyed it. I definitely liked it more than Origins, which I wasn't a huge fan of. And I stopped playing when Doom and Animal Crossing came out, and that was it. That kind of took over. So I would like to get back to it and finish it before Last of Us comes out. I think that's kind of my benchmark. I'd like to finish by then. So I finally finished Doom. Did we talk? I don't think we talked about this yet.
Not you finishing it, no.
Okay, good. So I beat Doom Eternal, and as I talked with many individuals online who also played the game, it is truly a game that needs your attention. It is not a game where you can, and I'm not saying it's one of the most difficult games out there, especially with Rashawn playing Dark Souls 3 here, but it is a difficult shooter, I think, or a challenging shooter, if you will. And as awesome as it was, I found myself frustrated a lot. And there was one really good reason why, and I texted John as soon as this happened. So if you follow along with the Geekiverse, we played Jedi Fallen Order, and John and I finished only with 3 stim packs, which are basically 3 health packs that your character has at any given time, basically to replenish your health. Now, Derek Kramer, who was on the show with us, finished with 7. And why did we put ourselves through such pain and torment? We didn't know any better. Yep. So I did the same thing, in essence, in Doom Eternal. But the game basically grabbed my face after dying 20 times on the second to last boss battle and said, hey, you can actually go put on this armor. It's called the Sentinel Armor. It doesn't affect your progression. It's not considered a cheat code. It's just kind of sitting there. It makes it way easier to get through the game. So I was like, son of a bitch. So I put it on, and I seriously got back into that boss battle and took them down like there was no tomorrow. Like it felt like I dropped down to the easiest setting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just played the entire game like this. Granted, in the earlier levels, it wouldn't have mattered so much. But I died a lot in this game. Necessary, because basically I was playing without armor. I had armor, it just wasn't good armor. So moral of the story is, I do have a complaint with it though. It's not accessible through the in-game menu. So if you're in the game and pause it, you can't go put it on or change it, or you can't even put it on in your hub world. So if there's basically this hub where you go in between missions, not accessible there. It is only accessible from the main menu. There's an option there. Are you kidding me?
That's so weird.
That's super bizarre.
Like before you launch your save?
So you would have to exit your game, save it.
Yeah.
Go put it on, and then jump back in.
So the title screen before you even launch into your save is where you equip that?
Yeah.
Very weird.
It's a very, very weird thing. I imagine it gets changed at some point with an update. But yeah, so I'm very happy to have that off my plate as much as I enjoyed it. I like the first one from 2016 better. I really have not played Animal Crossing in probably about a week or so. I'm sure I'll get the bug to do that again, but I've really just, if I've logged in at all, it's been just for the stock market. And a lot of times, we're all in these different chats on Facebook and Discord. If I see a good turnip price, I will just screenshot it and send it to Lauren, and she'll just go on for me because odds are she's playing anyway. So that's that. And then I've actually, because of it being May the 4th, just 10 days ago, I have been Star Wars crazier than normal. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I enjoy Star Wars here and there from time to time.
Interesting development.
Yeah. You'll find out more as we get to know each other. You'll see. But anyway, I put Jedi Fallen Order back in because of the free update, and I hadn't played it since December, and I'm 95% done. So I really have one planet to go to 100% this thing. I'm going to do that very soon. And then I just read through Battlefront 2's campaign, 2017 Battlefront 2, to get all the collectibles. Super easy. The campaign's like 4 or 5 hours. So I had fun going through that again. And believe it or not, right before that, I played the original Battlefront 2's campaign, which I think is one of the best things that we lost in the previous Star Wars canon. It's a really nice story that tells this perspective from one of the 501st clones who becomes a part of Darth Vader's fist once they become the Empire. And it's Tamora Morrison, who is Jango Fett, and as we know is now coming to The Mandalorian, which is exciting. And it's just it's a nice campaign that lets you not just play as all the different clone types, but really a drastic number of heroes. So I've enjoyed all of that lately. Last thing I wanted to mention here, I could not remember her name, so I had to look it up. But do you guys know Camilla Luddington, who voices Lara Croft and does the motion capture for her?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was at E3 2 years ago, during my Tomb Raider Shadow appointment, she was literally right next to me, like walking in. Like this happened all the time where like you'd see all of a sudden like a mess of like security people escorting somebody somewhere, and she was right next to me like lining up for an interview for something, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't really say anything to her and even just say hi, let alone get a picture. But I'm literally playing Tomb Raider, like, you know, think of it as like an arcade setup. They'd position you there and you'd play off to the side, and she was standing right next to me. So like I'm playing Tomb Raider, I'm like, that's you, that's so exciting. But yeah, that was one of my favorite memories from E3. Good stuff all around, boys.
Cops didn't get called on you? Yeah, there's a creepy guy that's like pointing at me.
I don't think I had my beard, so I was a little less creepy. They're like, who's this boy? Yeah. So keep up with the Geekiverse on all social media. We want to hear what you're playing these days. And if you're in the Western New York area, we'd love for you to get involved with the Buffalo Gaming Geeks group as well. So we've got 9 items on the news list with sub-bullet points among those 9. We've got a lot to get to today, as we promised.
Big news.
It's been yeah, honestly, the last few weeks have been really, really good for news in general for gaming. But leading off, we got yesterday a really, really nice PS5 Tech Demo. This all started from Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Series that he announced. He sent out a press release last week. And this is basically an initiative that throughout the summer will highlight these mini Nintendo Direct almost style news updates and releases as we get hyped for new games and the new gen systems. We got what I thought was an absolutely fantastic PS5 Tech Demo here with the Unreal Engine. A little bit of explanation in the beginning on it. It's only 9 minutes long. Have you guys all watched this?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah, John, let's talk about this for a minute. Give me your thoughts on this thing.
For sure. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's absolutely incredible. Try to find Epic Games. They put out a Vimeo link rather than their YouTube. So through Vimeo, if you have a 4K display, you can watch it on 4K. But even the 1080p version on Vimeo looks way better than the YouTube version. You can get like, looks incredible. But I think even you buried the lead a little bit. This is more the bigger news here is that Unreal Engine 5 is coming. I mean, that's the big news here. That's the big announcement out of the Summer Games Fest presentation. Unreal Engine 5 is here, and it is absolutely crazy. The fact that they showed that gameplay as PS5 demo was awesome, but this engine is just absolutely phenomenal. Some of the crazy takeaways, I was watching. If you watch Kind of Funny at all, one of the hosts in Kind of Funny is Andy Cortez. He used to do game dev, so he was a developer for Rooster Teeth Games before he got into like the media side of things. And he was just watching along, absolutely awestruck, saying how much easier developing a game is going to be with Unreal Engine 5 as opposed to the way it was before. Because from what I understand, and I'm not very technical with this kind of stuff in terms of game development, but instead of building assets in Unreal Engine or whatever engine you're working with, you can build them outside of the engine and just import them in full detail. And apparently that's going to allow for some insane level of detail. So they were talking about like the numbers of triangles that you're able to import, which to me just says the number of items you can have on the screen at a given time is just literally limitless now. So you can have like they showed off this. If you watch the video, go to the section where they talk about like this statue. They show you the statue and how incredible the detail is, and how it would have taken hours, and if not weeks to sculpt this thing in an engine. And then they go to the next room, and there's just dozens of them, and that stuff just wouldn't have been possible without Unreal Engine 5. That and then all the lighting effects, just absolutely insane. Again, can't say it enough. Watch this video. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for when it comes to next gen. We'll talk about the Xbox stuff, some of the Series X gameplay that we weren't necessarily blown away, and we didn't really see what next gen could be. This is what next gen can be. Unreal Engine 5 looks insane. Some bullet points we didn't talk about. Epic Games continuing to be good guy Epic Games. Unreal Engine 5 is completely free for indie developers until they make $1 million in profit on their game. Super, super awesome. Epic Games continuing to just do awesome stuff. They've got that Fortnite money, and they are using it the right way. I thought there was one more little cool thing they were doing, but I lost it. But that's huge. They're really making some waves here. UE5 is going to be insane.
Oh man, it's that the imagery stuck with me, and as I'm fumbling for words here, like that was me watching the video. It was just absolutely gorgeous. When she flies towards the end of it, I was
So
blown away. It, like that did not look at all like what you perceive a video game to be. That was insane.
Yeah, and like the way they're importing these assets, apparently it's like the way that you're going to be using Unreal Engine 5 is closer to doing CGI for a movie than it was developing for a video game prior. Like we are closer to movie tech than we are to last gen game tech with this engine. It's insane.
Jeff, initial reactions on what we saw there.
Yeah, it was just beautiful. You said that sequence at the end that was flying. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have. I thought that sequence was absolutely amazing. The crumbling pieces of rock and parts of the ruins coming down, the way they were animated is just incredible. I couldn't have put it into words before, but now, John, the way you said it, it's like closer to CGI than video game graphics. That's absolutely true. That's an incredibly accurate way to describe it. And then the lighting was just remarkable in that it's like, now that I see a real demo of this Unreal 5 engine, I feel like video games are finally on their way to using ray tracing across the entire medium, which is a technique that really hadn't existed before in video games. But now that we're seeing some of what Unreal 5 can do, I think ray tracing is finally approaching the video game sphere, which is going to be very exciting because those kind of lighting effects are going to be remarkable.
Yeah, Rashawn, you for the video viewers, you just said your mind was blown, rightfully so, right? Like, let's talk about this thing. What was your initial thought on all of that?
One of the things I said out loud during it was in this tech demo, there's a scene where the woman that they're playing as, she's using the basically a light to emit light, obviously. It goes over, she's in this tomb, and then there's these like cockroaches that are swarming away from the light. That's the part where I'm like, out loud I said, that is so disgusting and creepy, but that's so cool. The amount of stuff they're going to be able to put in these games, man, is insane. And not to just repeat every single thing that John and Jeff just said, but it's going to be incredible. This is what we've been waiting for next gen. And the thing that put it into context for me, as you guys know, I have to go in this frame of mind, especially when I hear Unreal Engine 5. The first thing I thought of was Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 7 remake. If y'all thought Final Fantasy 7 remake looked good now, when they move these next parts to Unreal Engine 5, I don't think maybe if they go part 2, that I don't know if that'll be an Unreal Engine 5, but definitely whether that's the final part or if there's multiple parts after that part 2, however they decide to break that up, that's when my head exploded. And for the future of the Kingdom Hearts series, being a big fan of that, just seeing how that game looks like a Pixar movie as it is. Like, it looks like you can just pop that in and watch. You feel like you're watching a Disney, watching it on Disney Plus. And there's obviously a bunch of other games, but those are the first two that came to mind. But yeah,
so I jumped back to Jedi Fallen Order after watching that, and it's kind of amazing. Like, I instantly felt, pretty much for the first time, I was like, wow, I'm kind of done with these graphics. And that's funny to say because it's a really good looking game. But seeing that, man, it's all perspective. It's so crazy.
Once you get that taste, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, you kind of mentioned, burying the lead here. I felt like they just so nonchalantly almost were like Unreal Engine 5. And I was like, was this something that I missed previously? Like, I don't know. It just felt like that should have been the thing that was like, Unreal Engine 5 is here, but it's probably more accessible to the public from a promotional standpoint, I guess, to promote it as a PS5 tech demo.
Did you watch it live or did you watch the uploaded video after? So I think you missed there was like a 30-minute sit down with Epic Games people leading this in, and they were, so when this went live in the Summer Games event, they did hype this up as Unreal Engine 5. That I think
gotcha.
you may have missed that part. That might be why you got that taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I just watched the video back, but incredible. I was already getting excited for next gen, but I think the hype is starting to build for me.
Yeah, and once you actually see what it can do, it's just like now you just want it. Quick note: it looks like they're going to be releasing it to developers next year, 2021, and one of the first confirmed things to come to UE5 is going to be Fortnite. They're migrating Fortnite from UE4 to the 5 engine, so it'll be crazy.
Yeah, no better way for them to show that off, no doubt. Moving on to number 2 here. Jeff, we got some Nintendo news, including a nice little drop today that might feed into some of the Mario rumors we've been hearing lately.
Who's Jeff?
You might have.
Or he's super speechless. No? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Jeffrey!
I think we got him back.
Jeff?
Jeff.
Oh, no!
Wait, he just shifted.
Wait, Jeff.
He's in and out.
What's happening? The Brady Bunch.
You guys should see this on the other screen where it's like the actual boxes. This is actually really fun to watch. The viewers at home have something cool to look at. Yeah.
Here's coming back. Jeffrey, do you hear us?
I pulled it, Josiah. Yeah, you hear me?
There we go.
Oh, don't call it Josiah. How dare you? Damn it. All right.
Okay, so you do hear me is what you're saying?
Yeah, we gotcha.
I do now. We were leading into, and you left me hanging, but Nintendo news. There's a lot going on, and today we got a really nice drop on what could lead into some of the rumors of the Mario games being true later this year. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we all woke up to something pretty surprising. Paper Mario: The Origami King for the Switch is coming out in 2 months. So July 17th is the release date. Brand new game. Looks really, really cool. Paper Mario is kind of a tricky subject over the last few years. Sticker Star and Color Splash met with kind of mixed reactions from fans. Whereas, the first couple of games, the one on N64 and the Thousand Year Door on GameCube, are regarded as two of the greatest games, at least greatest Mario games of all time. But I think this one looks really, really fun. It looks like you're going to have Bowser as a companion at some point, and then some of his minions. So Baby Bowser, Magic Koopas, Bob-Ombs, a couple Toads are with you too at some point. It started with that really creepy intro that was like a creepypasta kind of cutscene, but that's just another example of how great the writing is in the Paper Mario games. They have some of the greatest scripts of any Nintendo game. They're just loaded with so many great jokes and pop culture references. So I'm really excited for this one. And like I said, 2 months away only. That's so refreshing to get a reveal for a game and not have to wait a year or two for it to come out now.
So I realized in watching this trailer that I really know next to nothing about Paper Mario. I've never played any of the games. And I'll probably dive in at some point. I don't know if it'll be July 17th because Ghost of Tsushima is coming out the same day, and I'm all about that, which we'll get to. But Rashawn or John, did this move the needle for you guys or get you hyped at all?
Go ahead, Rashawn. I got much to say about that.
Okay. Not necessarily hyped, but I'm optimistic. I mean, it intrigued me. I'm not going to pretend to be like a big Paper Mario guy or anything like that, but I did play Thousand Year Door and really liked it. I didn't play any of the recent ones, so I don't have a lot of the negative stigma that it seems like a lot of the Nintendo fan base has towards those games. And some of them are approaching this with, they're a little bit more cautious, or they're excited, but they're like, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of that on all the websites like Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, I'm ready for it. We're gonna have a great day, man. At least for me, because I'm intrigued enough to at least pick up this Paper Mario. Pick it back up after over a decade for me. But yeah, between Ghosts and that, streams are gonna be pretty fun.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
And of course, like even if you're not excited about the game itself, just the announcement is really cool because this kind of, this is the first step in confirming that big Mario rumor from a while back. That was, to celebrate Mario's 35th anniversary.
And Paper Mario was in that.
Remasters of. Yes. Yeah. The part of the rumor was that there was going to be a brand new Paper Mario for Switch. And then the rest of it was that we're going to get like a remaster of every 3D Mario game for Switch. So, like I said, one step down. Hopefully the rest come out soon.
Yeah, I'm really, really intrigued to see the rest of those dominoes fall, honestly, because there's a few games we talked about that I'm dying to kind of play through the first time, honestly. So we also heard, there's going to be no Nintendo Direct in June. We're kind of hoping that was not the case, but hey, if we're getting small announcements like this, that's totally fine. I'm good with that. Jeff, you wanted to mention just a few of the really outstanding game sales figures that had come out recently from Nintendo. If you have those handy, why don't you go through a few of those?
I do. So Nintendo released their quarterly report detailing sales figures from January 1st through March 30th. The big one is Animal Crossing New Horizons, putting up 13.41 million copies sold in the first 6 weeks. So reference, that has now outsold the lifetime sales of the next two highest selling games in the series, Wild World and New Leaf, which were 11.75 million and 12.45 million respectively. So it's just as massive as we expected it to be.
Yeah, I even put in our Discord chat when you said that, I was like, that's not surprising, but still, holy crap! Like that's just insane.
It's crazy to
like
see
everybody,
that.
It feels like it's playing it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
And again, has it officially
Sword.
been 2 months for Animal Crossing release, or no? It hasn't even been 2 months.
It'll be May 20th.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, and the sales that Nintendo, like the figures that Nintendo released, were for the first 6 weeks of it, so it went up through like the first week of May. Like it doesn't include this last week. Then, it's gonna have to slow down at some point, especially because Pokemon DLC is coming out next month, and Pokemon Sword and Shield continue to do really big numbers too. That put up 1.31 million in this first quarter. So Sword and Shield are up to a combined 17.37 million, which is also outrageous. Those are huge numbers. It's about to overtake Breath of the Wild, which had a 3-year lead on it.
Yeah. Wow.
So that really just goes to show Pokemon selling power as well. Couple more that were notable. Smash Ultimate put up another million. So that's it. It's approaching 19 million copies sold. Another huge one. The one that really impressed me the most is Mario Kart 8 sold just under 2 million copies. So that's now at almost 25 million copies sold. And this is basically a re-release. It wasn't even a brand new Mario Kart game. That was just a little bit bigger version of. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that too. I'm still playing it to this day. But it's just, that one really blows my mind because it has a legitimate chance to be the highest selling Mario Kart game in the whole series. And the highest selling one is Mario Kart Wii, that has 37.32 million copies. Just the fact that this even has a shot at doing that blows my mind, because I never would have thought another Mario Kart game could top Mario Kart Wii. That was the one that had the Wii wheel accessory. So even people who had never played a Mario Kart game were interested in buying it just for the accessory to have it. A lot of casual gamers were picking that up. That's why it puts up, over 37 million copies. And now Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which, like I said, isn't even a brand new game. It's just a bigger version of Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U. It's closing in on 25 million copies now. Breath of the Wild did another million. That one is also super impressive. It's a 3-year-old game, a console exclusive no less, that does 1 million. You don't see that happen too often. Splatoon 2 crossed 10 million copies sold. That's awesome for such a young franchise. That's just the start of what Splatoon is doing. That's going to be one of Nintendo's biggest franchises going forward, I think.
Yeah, impressive all around. It's amazing what a good install base will do for you, right? And they've really had very few, if any, missteps in this generation, I would say.
So far, so good.
Yeah, for sure. Shifting gears here over to Xbox Series X. Last week, we got an Inside Xbox with some kind of gameplay, some cinematics, a little bit all over the place. The perception of the, I guess, Inside Xbox episode, if you will, was really hurt by how it was presented to us before it dropped. And I think had it been marketed a little bit differently, fans wouldn't have been so meh over everything that we saw here. Nothing to me that was terribly of note or consequence here. We did see a little bit of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There's another game that I kind of liked. The one that it was relatively early on. It was a shooter. I'll have to scroll through the notes here. Scorn looked kind of interesting, not my type of game, but overall thoughts on what we saw in this first Inside Xbox, John.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was underwhelming. We saw a lot of to kind of just go back to what you said about the expectations. We knew it was going to be a third-party only event, so we knew that we're only seeing third-party titles. And right before that, they confirmed that we're going to be seeing Microsoft Game Studios or Xbox Game Studios debut their stuff in July. So my biggest question was like, not even seeing what this was yet. Why are you doing this? Why give us the third parties now? And so little of these third parties, kind of no big announcements for the most part. We already knew Assassin's Creed Valhalla was announced. We didn't get much gameplay out of it. We didn't get any gameplay out of it. I'm sorry, that's not what that was. That was just a cinematic. So yeah, my biggest question is why do this now? Show us this random hodgepodge of third parties that really didn't move the needle for anybody, and then come at it with the first parties in July. Why not just put them all together and make a better event? Weird to me to space it out. Nothing blew me away. I didn't think anything was that impressive. I don't have the list of games in front of me. You can find. I mean, it was like 6 or 7 games. I think we were all there to see Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay, like actual behind the controller gameplay, and we didn't get that. So that was kind of like, what are we here for?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a momentum dip for them because they've done everything right so far. I feel like, and this one, I don't think it hurt them a ton, but really the perception is all right. We really need something to get back on the train for that. Yakuza is a nice and thing to include there, but they had stuff like Madden in there and Dirt 5, and those are kind of tried and true sequels, which you know what you're getting to an extent. I will say I appreciated that pretty much every other franchise or game that was shown off was new or a new IP in some way, shape, or form, or new to Xbox at least. So I think that's a good thing, and they did a good job showcasing that. But past that, nothing really too exciting to write home about, because let's face it, if we're getting Halo Infinite in November or whenever this launches, it's kind of amazing how little we've seen of it still. So I'm with you, John. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, nothing. To not have, I guess, let off with the reason you exist as a brand. Is kind of interesting. So to save that for July, we'll all be super excited when it finally drops. But here we're sitting with kind of a mediocre taste, I guess. So it is what it is. We'll talk about the next month episode once Microsoft drops that. We got a bunch of Star Wars news on May the 4th. Some really good non-gaming news, which we'll get to on other Geekiverse podcasts. But we've got some nice updates here. Jedi Fallen Order got some free DLC, basically in the form of an update, which you can do some trials. I was kind of amazed at how you can basically set up, not like the maze, but like battle scenarios for friends or other people online. Like, that is not anything I anticipated in a game like this. It's probably not something I'll dabble in either, because I'm just not creative when it comes to stuff like that. But hey, it's a free bit of DLC. You can't go wrong there. Vader Immortal is coming to PSVR. That is definitely a big get for PlayStation, and that's coming this July, I believe. And then Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, finally got a release date. It's coming October 20th, which is great for me, John, because I've got it in our Fantasy Games League.
Yeah,
so
you need that.
Look at that. I got Star Wars to get a date, and then the unannounced Assassin's Creed game. So things are starting to turn for me.
Maybe.
Scores will dictate later. We'll see. You have PSVR's Iron Man, don't you?
Correct. Yeah, that was supposed to come out tomorrow, and I just learned literally a few hours ago that it's not coming out tomorrow. It's apparently coming out in July now. Or July?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I didn't get that memo, so I was like, oh, looking for a new score tomorrow. No, not tomorrow.
Yeah. So, as a Star Wars fan, I love every little bit of Star Wars news. As I just, told you guys earlier, I may dabble in Star Wars from time to time. But I love the Lego Star Wars games. That is my guilty pleasure game. I love those games so much. They're easy. You kind of just go through. They're charming. They're fun. Obviously geared towards family / kids. So I am really excited to play through all of those, especially Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker this fall. So that's exciting. This one I thought was pretty notable. We are not getting a lot of traffic the week of E3 without E3 happening. I think I was secretly hoping for a bunch of virtual conferences and Nintendo Direct style, Inside Xbox, you name it, state of play. So far, we haven't heard a ton on that. However, EA Play is still happening, the dates that it would have anyway, which is going to be June 8th and 9th, I believe. I'm sure we'll get our typical run-of-the-mill with Madden and FIFA and all their sports titles, but I'm interested to see if we get anything past that. I think more... Are you guys surprised that we're not hearing more developers do this, or presenters that typically would present at E3 at this time? Because why not deliver something? It would cost them far less than it typically would have to do that anyway. You can kind of do a lot of that from home. If the quarantine's an issue, you can still work on those together. I guess, circling around, are you guys surprised?
Still think... Oh, sorry, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
Don't we think that basically Summer Games Fest is kind of even though it's very spread out, I think that kind of is what we're going to expect. I mean, the forum that they're kind of going for is that they're just going to one at a time go there. Hey, show us what you got, what you're working on. At least that way you get, you won't have your, again, they'll just have their own forum to kind of go off of. I think that's kind of what we're going to get. It's not going to be, again, and it's not going to be spread out over a month or a week. And we're just going to get hit over the head with announcement. I think it'll just be very spread out.
That's fine, and I like that Jeff Keighley is kind of heading that up. I've always appreciated what he does for gaming, and whether it's the Game Awards or his participation at E3 Coliseum, all of that. His enthusiasm and passion for what we love in just games in general is always struck a nice chord with me. Jeff, you were saying something about this as well?
I was gonna say I'm not surprised that that more developers aren't putting on a show or anything like that, just because of the constraints that the work from home environment has. One of the biggest problems with work from home is that you can't share data internally like you could if you were all working in a central office. It has to be shared through the internet. Sharing it through the internet is not only slower, it also opens it up to the risk of being accessed by the public in some capacity. And if developers weren't cautious about leaks before, they sure as heck are now after what happened with The Last of Us Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Very valid points there. It's not the most convenient, and it is definitely risky without a doubt.
And just with Nintendo, for example, Japan's still in a state of emergency, and it's expected that it's going. They're in a state of emergency technically until May 31st. That's expected to release a little bit earlier, but that entire country is in a state of emergency, so they're not doing anywhere near the work that they would have before. Sony as well, companies like Capcom, Square, they're not working, they're not functioning as efficiently as they were in the past.
I think Phil Spencer was talking to an outlet this week and said we're not going to see the impact so much on games that are about to come out this year, because a lot of it can be done remotely. Not the most effective way, but it can be. Next year, scheduled 2021 releases are the ones that are going to be affected more predominantly, because it's motion capture. It's stuff you've got to be in the same room for in a lot of cases.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Interested to see what happens. I think we'll still have a nice holiday gaming season here. We're still getting some nice release dates. We'll see how far that production gets pushed back as we get into next year. John, PlayStation has kind of rebranded one of the aspects of its gaming division here.
Yeah. So
why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Random announcement the other day was that I think it was Monday, it might have been Tuesday, but earlier this week we got a random YouTube video upload, even before they had a press release out or they had a PlayStation blog post, that Sony is rebranding their game development studios, and they're now called PlayStation Studios rather than Sony Worldwide Studios, which has always felt a little, it was a mouthful. It was a little bit of an old 90s name for a software company, so it makes a lot of sense. It's a lot cleaner, just like we have Microsoft Studios, PlayStation Studios, nice and clean. Makes a lot of sense. We got a cool little graphic, so you're gonna get a new splash logo anytime you have a first party developed PlayStation game you're popping in. You're gonna see that new PlayStation Studios logo. That's on the YouTube, looking pretty cool. Not a major announcement, but something fun. I'm always a sucker for clean branding. Anytime Apple would put out like a device that's called like the new iPad or something like that, and they just absolutely botch the title, I get so frustrated that they just don't have clean names. So clean branding, I'm a sucker for. So I like this.
Yeah, me too. I love stuff like that, and we talked about it pre-show. when I was blasting it through your speakers accidentally.
Yeah.
But watching that graphic reminds me very much of what we see with like the MCU. Once we got maybe like 10, 12 movies in, where it showed these clips and this montage through all the previous movies. And that's a little bit what we got here. We saw some Uncharted, Last of Us, Horizon in there, and I thought it was really nicely done. And I'm with you. I like that it's nice and clean. There's no confusion, if there was, that it's, Sony is a big brand name that does a lot of things. PlayStation is a gaming console.
Yep.
That's what it is. And now they're dedicated to that. So kudos to them for doing something like that. Also, moving on to bullet point number 7 here, we got, speaking of Sony, a few bullet points on the Last of Us Part 2. First of all, news came out that allegedly the leaker is not someone that was associated with Naughty Dog or Sony. Probably good news, I'd say.
Sure.
Not that this makes the situation a lot better, but now the perception's a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's bittersweet news because it's good and it's bad for Naughty Dog because we talked about it last episode that they've had those concerns with their workplace environments. We've heard that before. We've heard that be brought up. It's good to know that this isn't a result of that. This isn't a disgruntled employee mad over the overtime they worked in The Last of Us Part 2 and all those weird rumors that we read when this first got leaked kind of, refueled that fire that maybe Naughty Dog is not the best place to work. It is good to see that that's not the case. Hopefully they've been addressing that kind of stuff. Very interesting the way that Naughty Dog handled it. Once all of these leaks came out, other than saying we're sorry that information is out there, they never commented on the fact that everybody was reporting that it was a disgruntled worker. They were very quiet about that, which kind of told me that we didn't have the full story. So once it came out and we got the solidified details that this was a hack on their server, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was an old game that was like an unsecure patch that they left out there and somebody was able to access their servers via an old game patch. So that's how somebody got in. Once we got that story broken, Neil Druckmann came out and made a little statement. It was almost like a quip, like, see guys, like, this isn't us. We're not crazy over here. We're not working people to death anymore, maybe, but good and bad for what's going on. Sucks that they got hacked into. Maybe is kind of towards Jeff's point that working from home isn't really the safest situation data wise, but could have been worse.
Yeah. I think in most cases, in a lot of stuff like this, especially with real high traffic news, that we'll never know the full story on it. So, who knows what the real specifics are on this?
Sure.
Maybe it's true. Maybe it's a cover up. We'll never know. You like to believe a company, especially one that is putting out such quality products as Naughty Dog. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, like you said, they're cleaning up their act a little bit there as we move forward. We did get a Part 2 trailer as well. I'm sorry to keep jumping back to you, John, but you're the Last of Us guy here.
Yeah.
So give me your hot take on the trailer.
Yeah, so it was I think it was the first one that they officially called a story trailer. So it was The Last of Us Part 2 story trailer. I would assume it's the last big trailer or piece of promotional content other than their little like weekly series we're going to get before the game comes out. It was good. I didn't want it when it launched, and we got it. It's kind of just a random pop-up upload. I'm like, I'm going to watch it because it's there, but I really wish we wouldn't have had it. I kind of just want to hop into the game knowing what I knew before this trailer. Obviously, no spoilers. The Naughty Dog is good about keeping their stuff under wraps, but it was good. It got me excited. Man, this is going to be a dark game. That's my biggest takeaway from that trailer. Is like this is not going to be fun to play at all. Like I'm gonna. It's going to be a great experience, I'm sure. It's going to be a profound experience, but I don't know if it's going to be fun to play.
Yeah, John. When we spoiler cast that, it's going to be somber, I think.
Yeah.
And that's fine. The games don't always have to be that joyous, upbeat experience. It sounds awful to say, but
no, it's art. I mean, it's
it is art.
Movies do the same thing. Even music to an extent. They provoke the same kind of stuff. So it's in this medium, you have to have somebody going there. So Naughty Dog is they're doing it.
I always appreciated the notion that they kind of grew up with their fans in a way.
Sure.
You go back to the days of Crash Bandicoot, which you could consider not in a knocking way, but that it was childish, right? And then you go through other games throughout the years, and you get to Uncharted, and then you get to Last of Us, and this is a step past Uncharted in terms of how it's presented and in the tone of it. we are, so the last part on Last of Us Part 2 here is we're getting a weekly series in the lead up, one episode a week or one video a week, kind of behind the scenes. And we talked about this on other shows regarding what Disney Plus is doing with The Mandalorian and showing behind the scenes on that. I love that kind of stuff. So these, I think I'm going to tune into or watch it at some point here.
Did you watch the first one?
No, I have not yet.
I did. It's interesting. It's pretty quick. They actually do kind of give you more plot confirmations than a trailer would have. So there, I mean, like stuff that we all could have kind of just guessed with context clues. Nothing specific, but they kind of do talk about a few story beats. Obviously, you don't know what's going on still, for the grand scheme of things. But they got a little bit further than I thought they would. It was really interesting. I wouldn't say avoid it. Definitely watch it. It's really good stuff. But I'm fully team give Neil Druckmann a microphone and I'm gonna listen. I could listen to Neil Druckmann talk about anything forever. I love that dude.
So another, man, I've just all these good E3 memories. So I was in the room for that Sony 2018 press conference, and that was just totally bizarre because we're all in there and we're like, what is going on? They didn't say a word. As we were being filtered out to the next room, we had to walk through like these basically like outdoor tarped tunnels and walkways to get, it was bizarre. And we walk into where Ghost of Tsushima was about to be playing with like the LED screens everywhere and how they had it set up. But before I walked out, they had like the church pews set up for certain people to sit in. There were a few people there, and one of them was Neil Druckmann. And I was like, oh my gosh. So really, again, we're being filtered on, we're moving on. And I was literally right next to him as he's sitting there. I just put my hand on his shoulder real quick and I said, it looks wonderful, man. Congratulations.
That's
and he
awesome.
just kind of looked at me and nodded. And to me, like, that means the world. I live for that stuff. That just to see that guy and like Camilla, like she's there. She's right there. I love that.
Very cool.
I'll always be a fanboy. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're digging it so far, John. I'm going to dive into that probably tonight, actually, after we do our MCU review. Jeff, I have to come to you with the next bit of news. Lord of the Rings. So, Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is a totally off-the-wall random game to me. That I don't even remember when this was announced, but I was like,
I don't either.
Sweet, because I love the Shadow of games. This is interesting. We got some screenshots here of Gollum. It's all based on Tolkien's story as opposed to the Peter Jackson movies, from what we've heard. He doesn't really look that far off from what we've seen in the movies here. Any insight, any takes here? I know you're Lord of the Rings is your baby, man. Like that's your go-to.
I'm really kind of indifferent to this because I don't feel like Gollum is the most suitable character to get his own game. Maybe like a mini game, maybe like a low budget 2D side scroller, not a full blockbuster like this.
It's weird to me, and I honestly don't know, like, what kind of game is this?
I've heard like stealth action, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of indifferent to this. I got no attachment to this whatsoever. And
same,
like,
but I know I'm gonna play it, which is a shame, really.
I don't even know if I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, I can't say that I know that. I probably will though. So if I remember one of the screenshots, it looks like there's a decision that you can make whether, like, because you're in Gollum's head, I would imagine, right? And he's always like, I should do this. No, you shouldn't do that.
It's a scary place to be.
Oh gosh. So it would be suitable, I think, if it was like a Telltale game where it was smaller and episodic, and hey, you're paying $5 an episode or whatever, which is still kind of weird. But Rashawn, like, what? All right, tell us what are you thinking of this?
Oh, God.
Yeah, talk. This do we got a good rant coming?
No, it's not worth that. It's just why I don't know what's going on. You could have made out of the universe that you have with Lord of the Rings. You could have took any other character and gave them a game, literally anybody, and it would have made more sense than a Gollum game. Literally, at least that you could. I mean,
that'd be awesome. What are you talking about?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that would have been better than this. Like,
I
I don't know what you're gonna do with this game, and the worst part is the concept already. Initially, I was already like, oh, whatever, this is silly, but then the screenshots, man,
it doesn't look great.
No,
I mean it's just screenshots, but
yeah, it just doesn't. It looks like, to be honest, the screenshots look like a late gen PS3 Xbox 360 game.
I was thinking the same thing.
The screenshots don't even look current gen. Again, obviously, with everything, I always take the let's see gameplay. But to Jeff's point, I don't think I'm buying this for $60.
And if they're if they're trying to go with like a family friendly route on this, because I mean the art direction it's a little colorful, it's a little cutesy. If they're trying to go with that, Gollum is not the right character for that tone. Gollum is an incredibly disturbing and tragic character. That's not like a better one would maybe be like Tom Bombadil, for example, who wasn't in the Lord of the Rings movies. So this would have been a really cool way to use him in a different medium and adapt his story.
I think it's tough to go into the movie territory with these. Like, I always felt that way with Star Wars to an extent, but that's my opinions changed over time with how much Star Wars media we have. But with Lord of the Rings, like, don't touch that trilogy. And I guess they're technically not. But really, they are going to draw from it in some way, shape, or form, whether they like to admit it or not. So, I don't know. Kind of a weird one. We'll see what happens there. I am intrigued. I love the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. Those were some of my favorites from this generation that I don't talk enough about. And I remember Gollum was in one of them as a side mission character, and that was kind of fun. That was appropriate,
I believe. Yeah,
first one. Okay, that was good. It made sense to be your own character. We'll see. The last news item we've got here for you is. Honestly, my Facebook feed is all about this. This is it's not Animal Crossing big, of course, what is right now, but I see a lot of people who have either not gamed in a long time or just really aren't more than a game or two a year kind of person. You're casual gamer getting hyped about this. Tony Hawk 1 and 2 are being remastered, coming in a collection September 4th. So we talked about this a few months back about Activision rumors that we... it wasn't a rumor. We knew that there were going to be remasters. They said that they were going to be diving into this backlog. We just didn't know what. And I believe we speculated that Tony Hawk was going to be there. Looks beautiful. The trailer brings back such nostalgia. John, were you a Tony Hawk guy back in the day?
Absolutely. So I would say before the original Xbox came out and Halo came around, Tony Hawk is absolutely what defined me as a gamer back then. I was all about these games, man. The Tony Hawk series is it's for sure my roots in gaming. That's where I put the most hours. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 for the N64, then Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 X for the original Xbox, hundreds and hundreds of hours. I have such good memories of those games, just hanging out with my friends, playing split screen, just going for high scores, beating the game, playing as Spider-Man, all this awesome stuff. The Tony Hawk games are super, super near and dear to my heart. I love that franchise. I loved it all the way up until Tony Hawk's Project 8, which I believe was a launch title for the Xbox 360. If not a launch title, it came out pretty quickly after. Then the series kind of, went to shit after that. But it got bad. It got bad. It's dark out there. So to see them,
I can't believe that you stayed that long. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, skating even was a huge part of my life for a long time. So I mean, culturally, these games are super important. What they did for music back then, games were not doing that. They weren't introducing music to people's lives like Tony Hawk was. To see them treat this game the way they are. So before they made this announcement, they had a press junket with a bunch of different members of the media, and there's tons and tons of information out there that was embargoed until they made this announcement. But the interviews seem super promising. This team is dedicated to the look, the feel, and the soundtrack of the original two games. So they are going. They said that they can't promise a 100% complete soundtrack, but they are that's their goal. Due to licensing, we all know the music industry is just absolutely insane with that kind of stuff, especially back then. All that stuff, there's probably songs that nobody owns anymore at this point. That's just that's the way it is. But they're trying. They're going for every song. They know how important that is. they've done this before. They've repackaged the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 and put it in a collection. It was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. I think it was an Xbox 360 PS3 title. It was downloadable. It was horrible. I mean, they had the right idea, but they just broke the game mechanically. It did not feel like Tony Hawk 2, which is the gold standard in my opinion. I mean, obviously Tony Hawk 3 added the revert, and then Tony Hawk 4 added being able to level yourself out and spine transfer. So some great additions after that. But I think the gold standard for the way the game is supposed to feel is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. We're getting that. It's super cool. We've seen these remasters come out lately and absolutely just hit home runs, whether it's something on the scale of a Final Fantasy or like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. They're just treating these awesome nostalgic games with respect, and I'm super, super happy to see Tony Hawk finally get that treatment.
John, is this Vicarious Visions that's doing this one? Do we know?
I know the information's out there, but I do not know.
Okay, so they did the Crash Insane Trilogy, which truly was a beautiful ground-up remake that captured the essence of that original trilogy, but really made it feel fresh at the same time. That's
Sure.
a really tough line to balance there.
It is Vicarious.
Activision's just crushing it with these, whether, like you said, it was Spyro or Crash or now this. That's really exciting. I definitely had Tony Hawk, the original for the original PlayStation, played a ton of that. I don't think I owned Tony Hawk 2. I know I played quite a bit of it with my my best friend.
Oh my god, School 2, man.
He owned it. I don't think I ever did. And then the same with 3, and we probably played even more 3. I just like the level for us was the cruise ship. Always played on that, and of course we had the cheat code for Darth Maul. Like that, we just, we would spend hours playing that just on that same level all over the place. Jeff or Rashawn, does this hit home for either of you guys?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm down.
Rashawn?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not necessarily excited. I did play 1, 2, and Underground, and I remember having good times with those games. Is this something I'll pick up day one? Is this a pre-order thing for me? No. It's nice that, again, they got plenty of people excited about it, though.
Yeah, the internet, like I said, my social media is all over with it, and I love seeing that enthusiasm. Nostalgia is always fun, especially when it comes to video games. So that's exciting. I think that's a nice kickoff to kind of like that fall gaming season. We'll
nice little remaster at the start. I feel like we're getting those a lot now. Didn't Crash come out was that a fall? Was that fall or was that spring? Maybe.
It was June of 2017. I want to say.
I think you're right. No, I remember it was. You're right. You're right.
It was also summer when they brought the Switch as well. It was a couple of years, if not just a year. The Switch release was also. I think it was July.
I do own it for Switch and for PS4, so it's only a matter of time before I get the Xbox One and just go through for the achievements. My sister has it actually for Xbox One, which is great.
There you go.
And then Spyro was the year after, I want to say, but that I think was like October,
Spyro
November.
That was November of 2018.
And it's funny because I never went through the original Spyro games. I had the original on like a demo disc from Pizza Hut or something.
Everyone
and I played
had that. Yep.
Same here, dude.
Yeah.
Everybody had that demo disc.
Tomb Raider was on there, Parappa the Rapper, and then Spyro. I never owned Spyro either. I just played it. I played that first level on the demo disc. Yep.
And it's funny, like that was enough for me, almost 20 years later to be like, yeah, I'm definitely going to pick that up day one. We actually got a review copy of it, which was awesome.
I have to say, not to go too off topic, but since you brought it up with Spyro, when that came out, I was excited for that collection, and 1 and 2 are platinumed, and I got to go back to 3 to get that too.
Nice.
Of course they are. How many? Do you know off the top of your head how many platinums you have?
Remake was my last one, so that I think I'm either at 22 or 23. It's one of those two numbers.
It's killer.
But I will say you have to subtract like 4 or 5 because Telltale games, so maybe 18, 17. Because those Telltale games don't count. They get a platinum for playing the game.
They count.
You get it. You get it.
All right, I'll take
Telltale and Lego games count. It's okay. Just saying. All right, guys. So really, really nice news over the last 2 weeks here. We'll see what the next 2 weeks holds. Usually this is a crazy video game time. I think we are going to get some good news here as we move forward. But we want to know, for you, the listeners, the watchers at home, what is the most important news item? What were you most hyped about? Leave it in the comment section below. We're going to wrap this episode up for Geeks Got Game, which is now in a bi-weekly format. We're really excited about it. We'd like to talk video games here at the Geekiverse, so it only makes sense to talk more about them. We'll wrap things up with our usual, where can we find you on social media, and what can you plug for the Geekiverse? So, Mr. Baba Yaga, John.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So I'm at Disruptoid on all socials. You can find me there. Listen to my mediumly hot takes on baseball, beer, video games, that kind of stuff. Tune in to MCU Reviewed. That's a show we're rocking with on the Geekiverse right now. We are doing it. Iron Man 2, we're recording directly after this. So for 23 weeks, once a week, we are posting a review video for an MCU. We're going obviously straight in order. We're ranking them. We're reviewing them. It's a ton of fun. It has been a project we've been wanting to do for a while, so we're happy we're finally diving in. So if you want to watch that, we'd really appreciate it because we're having fun with it.
Any excuse to rewatch the MCU is a good one.
Yeah.
Not that you need one, but real quick, the series is sponsored by Fantastic, so we'll talk more about them on the show. But I don't know if you guys have watched the premiere of Dadcast yet, but towards the end, Tim is wearing a shirt that says "You Dig," which is based on Stephon Diggs, the newest Buffalo Bill, or one of the newest Buffalo Bills. And he didn't know where it was a gift. He didn't know where the shirt had come from. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that is from Dell, who is the guy behind Fantastic and 26 Shirts. And so he pulls it around and he's looking at the tag, and sure enough, it says 26 Shirts in there.
That's all.
And we had just been talking about MCU review before that. So I love that. Absolutely awesome. Mr. Jeff Pavlak, what's going on in your world?
You can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey Pavs and on Instagram, Jeff Pavlak. If you want to see some pro wrestling opinions that you'll probably disagree with, you can check out our Mount Rushmore of Pro Wrestling article that just went up the other day. A couple of us contributed, naming our top 4 professional wrestlers as far as influence on the industry.
That has spurred on some debate, to say the least.
Yes, it has.
I had to just lock and key. I'm like, I am out of my league here. I have opinions, but I have no right to spew them, so I've just shut my mouth.
Come on, John. Nope. I want to see you get in there.
I can't.
Rashawn, where are you when you're not busy working on your next platinum?
I like that one. You can find me still on here at the Geekiverse, whether it's on this show, on our monthly Disney Plus podcast, or on the MCU Reviewed, of course. Twitter and Twitch, you can find me at True King Zero. Twitch right now, again, we're going to be streaming some Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'll probably even throw in my Dark Souls 3 Platinum run. Again, I'll rotate between those for the foreseeable future. So catch me on there, chat, play some games with me. Twitter, again, hot takes on all forms of entertainment will be on there.
And you can tell we're getting ready for our Iron Man 2 episode. You've got the red on. You're ready to go.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I got my Iron Man red today.
I got something for you guys. Don't worry.
Yes. I'm so excited to talk Iron Man 2. I can't even tell you. I think tonight is, I told John, the first night that we're going to have maybe a little bit of a debate when it comes to ranking these. So we'll get there. Stay tuned, everybody. I am at Josiah D. Leroy on all social media. Few things to plug real quick. I mentioned Dadcast. It is a brand new show from the Geekiverse because, hey, we've been launching new shows left and right. It's our birthday month and we can do whatever we want, right? So 6 years of the Geekiverse, we released a video, very heartfelt from the entire staff. Could not emphasize enough how much we love you, how much we thank you for tuning in, for commenting, for liking, for just saying hi to us. It means the absolute world to us. So thank you for celebrating 6 years of the Geekiverse and hopefully many more to come. Dadcast is a show for gaming fathers. You don't have to be a gaming father to listen or watch it, but it would help, certainly. Myself and Tim Talbot, we both have youngsters at home. And we got to know each other over the last few weeks and have realized that we kind of need each other to talk through some of these these moments in life, whether it's your kids, or how do you find time to game, how do you find time to balance work. So it's a lifestyle podcast. We'd love it if you tuned into that. The inaugural episode just dropped, and I think we're going to have fun with that series. And I lastly guest starred on another Geekiverse series that I'm not normally on, called Drafting with Drafts, sponsored by Community Beerworks. The topic was to choose or draft 5 individuals, like you would in a fantasy football or hockey draft, 5 individuals that you would want to be quarantined with. So that episode will be up this weekend at some point. You can check that out right at youtube.com/thegeekiverse and wherever you stream your podcasts. As always, this has been another fun episode of Geeks Got Game. Check us out in 2 weeks and get involved with the community on social media, facebook.com/thegeekiverse, and Twitter and Instagram. We are at @_Geekiverse and at the Geekiverse, respectively. For John, for Jeff, for Rashawn, I'm Josiah. We'll catch you all in a few weeks. Have a wonderful evening.